So we've taken some time to cut up our project in Photoshop, so we're all ready to kind of bring this into After Effects and animate it. And so hopefully you've looked at some of the earlier tutorials about just After Effects, the workspace and how it all kind of goes and everything, but we're going to walk through a little bit of it again. So the main thing is just when we start, we want to go ahead and go to After Effects, make sure you have that open. And just going to want to go ahead and make a new project. So you want to go ahead and click on the new project. Um, and then it'll bring that up. So we want to go ahead and when you make a new project, it just kind of opens up a blank space that you can put all kinds of new stuff in. And I always, first thing is save, go to save as and select the location that you want to save your things to. So as you remember, we kind of created a folder someplace. So what I would do is I would make sure I put this After Effects folder or project into your into that folder, so you keep all of this stuff together again. So we're just going to call this, and you can create a new folder if you want. Usually, if you're just working in an After Effects file, you can just keep it in the main sort of folder that you've created, and then keep the items and assets in different folders if that helps. But just click save. So if we do that, we're going to end up bringing, and now it's saved. We know where all of our stuff is. It's all in one place. If you put this on a thumb drive, you can take it where you need to go. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and import in the Photoshop things that I just made. So if you want to, you can just click here, go to import. So file, import, and then we're gonna we're gonna want to go to the right spot. So and we're going to want to click on just the Photoshop file, right? And so if we do that, we can click open and click OK. And here is the, now we have a full project that has our football pieces project sort of that we started, the components that are in there. And so that's the easiest, simplest way to import items into After Effects. Just bring them right in if you want to. It's really pretty easy. But what you need to know is that these compositions are kind of the spaces that pop up down here in your timeline, right? And so when you just import something in, it's going to bring in. We brought in the full folder as well as the and it made a new comp for us when we made it that way. But you can also create a new comp if you want to. And so comps are just basically kind of these are the things that you export out as your final videos. You got to think of them kind of as workspaces that you're creating an animation in. And the cool thing is that you can nest one comp inside of another. So it can get really confusing, but it's also really useful. And so we'll go over that in a later tutorial. But if I'm going to make a new comp, I'm just going to go up here and go to composition, new composition. And this is where you can select all kinds of things, like all your presets, right? So you can go in here and if you want to work at 4K, you could do that. Not recommended if you don't have a monster computer to push all of the RAM for that. You can work smaller if you want to. Again, it's generally easier to compress something when you export it out at the end, as opposed to working in a smaller file. It's impossible to add pixels, right? So if you work at a really small pixel size here, like 720 by 480, when you go to blow it up, it's just going to make everything blurry and fuzzy, and it's going to look kind of crummy. So you want to go ahead and probably pick, the right one. And so I would just pick something that's high def. So I always like using the one of these like HDTV. So this gives you 1920 by 1080. That's really, really high pixel rate. You want to make sure you have square pixels selected. And then, you can pick your background color too. If you want to change that, you can change it to red or white or black. So it's really up to you what color you want that background to be. You can always change the background color later. And then the last thing would be your duration, right? So how long do we want this thing to be? This is basically a 30-second duration. If I want to, I can add an hour. So an hour 30, that would be a little much for us. I think 30 seconds is probably perfect to start with. But remember, you can always go back in here under composition settings and change this, change the duration, change the background, even change the resolution. And then you just want to name it, right? So, and I try to like use numerical naming conventions. You guys can figure out other ways to do it, but so I'm just going to go Football Monster 1, and then if I add more things later on, I'll be able to add different different numerical things, and I kind of know this was the first one, and then number 16 is the 16th sort of composition I've made. So you can click OK on that, and that's just going to give you a blank one, right? So now that's the blank one. This is the one that has our Photoshop layer in it. And so that's basically the work kind of flow that you want to begin with on all of this. And it's just some basic things that are pretty important to know about. And so anytime, again, that I want to try to like change something, if I want to change a comp, I just select the comp, double click it, and you'll see that they show up down here, so you can kind of toggle through them here like that. And I can go up here to composition and go to composition settings, and I can change whatever I need to. So once I've got the composition sort of set up, I know how to do all of this. You want to hit save, so just hit Command S or go up to File, Save, and save everything. Now we're ready to kind of get started working on this thing for real. And so I'm going to stop this tutorial and start a new one, and then we'll work our way through the project from here.